Welcome and thanks for the opportunity to present today. Thanks also to all participants for taking the time to listen to this update and share our excitement and enthusiasm. My name is Klaus Paulini. I'm President and CEO of Aeterna Zentaris Inc., as well as Managing Director of Aeterna Zentaris GmbH, our fully owned German subsidiary, where operations are located. Today, I will be making forward-looking statements. Please be aware of this and also regularly check our filings and news on our website and social media channels. Where are we today? With Macrolin or Massimolin, we have the first and only approved oral drug indicated for the diagnosis of adult growth hormone deficiency. It's been approved by US FDA and the European Medicines Agency. With Novo Nordisk, we have a commercial and development partner for the United States and Canada. Novo Nordisk, as you may know, is a global leader in the growth hormone deficiency therapeutic market. We're receiving royalties on sales and milestone payments. We're collaborating on the development for Massimolin for childhood onset growth hormone deficiency testing. Recently, we reported Consilient Health as our European commercial partner. Consilient Health is a privately owned pharma company focused on commercializing medicines in Europe and the Middle East. We're receiving also royalties on sales and milestone payments. Our growth opportunities going forward lie in childhood onset growth hormone deficiency, in Massimolin as a therapeutic, and in further pipeline expansion. We are leveraging the approval for adult growth hormone deficiency testing of Massimolin and the compelling safety profile of this compound to expand into pediatric use. We are preparing at the moment the pivotal study in this respect. Also, we have filed a new patent for childhood onset growth hormone deficiency diagnosis. We are working with the University of Queensland. This university is one of the leading research and teaching institutions in Australia and ranked among the top 50 universities worldwide. They approached us with a proposal to evaluate Massimolin for the treatment of an undisclosed neurodegenerative disease. It is planned to conduct preclinical studies, and the university applies for funding to conduct an investigator-initiated clinical trial to assess the tolerability, safety, and efficacy of Massimolin in this given indication. We are also evaluating further opportunities to expand our development pipeline in order to become less dependent on Massimolin alone and to secure long-term growth. 2020 set the stage for future growth. Key accomplishments were, amongst others, the distribution agreement to commercialize in Israel and the Palestine Authority with Megapharm. We were able to report positive results in a dose range finding pediatric study, not only confirming the adequate dose for this population, but also yet again the excellent safety profile of Massimolin. This paved the way to prepare to initiate the pivotal phase 3 safety and efficacy clinical trial study PO2. With Novo Nordisk, we amended the commercialization and development license agreement. With Consilient Health, we secured a licensing partner to commercialize in Europe and the United Kingdom. On a corporate level, we began a key initiative to build a pipeline beyond diagnostics. We received a €5 million upfront payment under the amended agreement with Novo Nordisk. We expanded our IP portfolio with additional patent applications and received another €1 million upfront payment from Consilient Health. In general, we secured significant capital to fund operations through 2023 by raising $23.5 million in the course of last year. The key initiative for this year is building a pipeline beyond diagnostics. We plan to develop therapeutics to secure long-term growth for the company. We firmly believe that Massimolin has potential as a therapeutic. For this, we are currently evaluating potential additional uses of this ghrelin agonist. we have performed a semi-rational approach, the so-called physiologically based pharmacokinetic analysis, in order to identify potential alternative formulations and routes of administration. Such alternative non-oral formulations appear to be preferred for the therapeutic use of Massimolin. Experimental work on formulations is currently ongoing. In parallel, we are also evaluating potential new indications together with external experts. At the University of Queensland, as I said, they have approached us with a proposal to investigate Massimolin as a potential treatment for an so far undisclosed neurodegenerative disease. We have signed a material transfer agreement with the university to provide them Massimolin, and we secured the exclusive right to negotiate a license agreement for the commercial use of the expected results. University researchers are working to secure grants to conduct preclinical and clinical studies. Aeterna Zentaris, as a co-investigator, will be providing the medication and the active pharmaceutical ingredient, and we plan to support the university's scientists with our preclinical and clinical know-how. We are also looking into a strategic review of current assets to identify potential programs to activate and advance. Historic development candidates from our previous programs may offer opportunities for repurposing. We have, for example, worked extensively on kinase inhibitors for oncologic indications. Many of those have been already evaluated clinically or at least preclinically. It is well known that such kinase inhibitors offer many opportunities for non-oncologic use as well. In this context, we are ready to consider potential co-development opportunities. We are also evaluating licensing opportunities. We have a historic, successful, extensive network with universities in Europe and the US. For us, such strategic collaboration with universities offer the access to innovative development candidates in various indications. The assessment of such in-licensing of therapeutic development projects is currently ongoing. In this context, we are focusing on orphan drug indications, on the potential for pediatric use, and on therapeutics with a significant commercial potential. It is our aim to complement the expertise of the university with our know-how in order to quickly transition such projects from preclinical to clinical development. We see Massimolin as a disruptive oral diagnostic solution for growth hormone deficiency. Growth hormone is critical for lifelong health. The hormone is produced by the pituitary gland located at the base of the brain. In children, obviously, it promotes growth. The reduction of oxological parameters like short stature or low growth velocity are easily spotted and quite likely lead to the suspicion of growth hormone deficiency in these patients. For adults, growth hormone is also required to maintain normal body stature and to regulate metabolism. But the symptoms and signs are far less clearly identified as in children. Metabolic syndrome, for example, osteoporosis, muscle wasting, generally impaired quality of life, and also an increased risk of cardiovascular issues leading even to an increased mortality or bone fractures may be associated with growth hormone deficiency in adults. With Massimolin, we have the only approved oral drug for growth hormone deficiency testing. Adult growth hormone deficiency has already been approved by the US FDA and the European Commission. For childhood onset growth hormone deficiency testing, we have reported in April positive results in a dose range finding study. The subsequent safety and efficacy study is planned to commence at the end of the first quarter of 2021. The American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists revised their guidelines at the end of 2019. There you can read, because the Massimolin test is simple, well tolerated with minimal side effects, of shorter duration with only 3 to 4 blood draws compared to other growth hormone stimulation tests, it is anticipated that its use will increase over time. It's also stated that Massimolin is a promising test that is easy to conduct with high reproducibility, safety, and diagnostic accuracy compared to ITT, which is the insulin tolerance test, or the growth hormone releasing hormone plus arginine tests, which are procedures currently used. We are thus leveraging the clinical success so far and the compelling safety profile to expand Massimolin into pediatric use through a pediatric development plan. This means that a unified clinical protocol has been negotiated and agreed with US FDA and the European Medicines Agency. The pediatric clinical development strategy foresees, first of all, a dose range finding study, study P01. This study has been completed and positive results were announced in April 2020. This provided the framework to plan the efficacy and safety pivotal trial study P02, which is expected to commence towards the end of this quarter. This is a co-development with Novo Nordisk, our commercialization partner in the US and Canada. Aeterna Zentaris will be the responsible sponsor overseeing the study conduct. Nonetheless, Novo Nordisk is going to fund 100% of the budgeted clinical trial expenses up to 9 million euros. Only potential additional expenses are going to be shared. We are thus preparing now to initiate a pivotal study P02. This will be an open-label, single-dose, multi-center, multinational clinical trial. The Massimolin growth hormone stimulation test will be performed twice in the subjects in order to gather repeatability data. Current guidelines require to perform 2 standard growth hormone stimulation tests in order to properly identify growth hormone deficiency in children. In the context of our clinical trial, these 2 controls will be arginine applied intravenously and clonidine applied perorally. The design of our clinical trial is suitable to support the claim for the potential of Massimolin as a standalone test if successful. That would obviously be a huge advantage. This worldwide clinical trial will enroll at least 100 subjects worldwide. These will be children and adolescents from 2 to less than 18 years of age with suspected growth hormone deficiency. It is required to enroll at least 40 prepubertal and at least 40 pubertal subjects in the study. Also, FDA required that at least 25 of the subjects should be enrolled in the United States. Now, a short corporate overview. The Massimolin commercial rights are allocated as follows. For the US and Canada, we have a license and assignment agreement with Novo Nordisk. We are receiving royalties on sales and sales milestones. Aeterna Zentaris controls the API supply chain and provides the active pharmaceutical ingredient to Novo Nordisk for the use in the US market. We have also a co-development ongoing for the expansion into pediatric use. Novo Nordisk is going to fund 100% of the budgeted clinical trial expenses up to 9 million euro, and only potential additional expenses have to be shared. With Conciliant Health, we have a license agreement covering Europe and the United Kingdom. Pricing and reimbursement milestones, as well as royalties on sales, are agreed. Aeterna Zentaris controls here also the supply chain and provides finished product to Conciliant Health according to a supply agreement. With Megapharm, we have a distribution and commercialization agreement in place for Israel and the Palestine Authority. Apart from that, Aeterna Zentaris owns the worldwide rights and is actively seeking commercial partners in the rest of the world at the moment. Now a short financial snapshot. Aeterna Zentaris is incorporated in Canada. We are a foreign private issuer listed on the Nasdaq and the Toronto Stock Exchange. Our current cash runway is funding operations through 2023. The current market capitalization is around $43 million. We have 62.6 million shares outstanding, and the average daily trading volume on Nasdaq is between 3 and 4 million shares currently. Our management comprises, apart from myself as President and Chief Executive Officer, as well as Managing Director of Aeterna Zentaris GmbH, Leslie Auld, our Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. She is based in Toronto, Ontario. Like myself, Eckhard Günther, the second Managing Director of Aeterna Zentaris GmbH and Senior VP Business Development, as well as Nicola Ammer, the Senior VP Clinical Development and Chief Medical Officer, are based in Frankfurt, Germany. The expected value-driving milestones going forward are based on achievements in the recent past, like the successful completion of the dose range study P01, the amended agreement with Novo Nordisk, and also the European licensing agreement with Consilient Health. We plan to start the pediatric safety and efficacy study towards the end of this quarter. The completion of this study is anticipated for the end of Q2 2022, and we would like to submit the dossiers to FDA and EMA in the following quarter Q3 2022. This would mean that the earliest Massimolin pediatric approval may be expected in the first half of 2023. At this point, it is worth noticing that we are not expecting a full new approval, but a label extension based on a type 2 variation. Also, we see potential upside in additional pipeline activities. As an investment summary, with Massimolin, we have the only approved oral drug for the diagnosis of adult growth hormone deficiency. It is approved by US FDA and by the European Commission. With Novo Nordisk, we have partnered with a global leader in growth hormone deficiency therapeutics for the US and Canadian market. Novo Nordisk is also funding 100% of the budgeted pediatric clinical trial expenses up to 9 million euros. With Consilient Health, we have secured a commercial partner currently seeking pricing and reimbursement approvals in Europe and the UK in order to start commercialization. We are also expanding Massimolin into pediatric use, an interesting worldwide market and area of significant unmet need. We are also working with the University of Queensland to explore Massimolin as a potential therapeutic for the treatment of an undisclosed neurodegenerative disease. We have an exclusive option to negotiate a license agreement based on the expected results. We are also evaluating further opportunities to re-establish a development pipeline to secure long-term growth for all stakeholders. With this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Klaus. That was a great overview of the company. My first question would be, you had generated 1.3 million revenues as reported on September 30th. What is the main revenue stream, and where do you see the growth coming in the next quarters?
Yes. Part of that revenue stems from, for example, supplying API batches to Novo Nordisk. So this is not, if you like, a regular income. It is really when they are ordering a batch of active pharmaceutical ingredient, and that is sufficient for many batches of drug product eventually. So whenever this comes, this is a larger chunk. The sales at the moment are still, let's say, behind our expectation at least, and also behind what our primary market search has led us to expect. But we see a slight improvement despite this current situation, and we hope for a much improved situation once the pediatric approval comes, or let's say will hopefully come. We know that Novo Nordisk is selling 90% at least of their growth hormone for therapeutic use in the pediatric population, for example. So the acceptance for this kind of use appears to be much bigger in the pediatric area.
That sounds great. And I'm also curious on the Novo Nordisk amendment of the agreement. Is it a yearly base, annual basis contract agreement, or is it a long-term agreement that we are looking for a much longer-term partnership?
So it is more or less a revision of the initial agreement. One needs to know that we have initially licensed out Massimolin to Strongbridge Biopharmaceuticals, another, let's say, smaller biopharmaceutical company. And the setup, once Novo Nordisk took over this license, has changed dramatically. You know, we are now working together with one of the leading players in the growth hormone field. It needed to be revised to reflect the current state of our cooperation. And for us, very beneficially, we managed to prepone a regulatory milestone payment to an upfront payment of 5 million euros, which expands our, let's say, optionality and our flexibility in financial respect. And also, we see it as very favorable that Novo Nordisk recognized our competence and diligence in conducting the clinical trial, so they agreed that we will be the sponsor of this pediatric study, obviously in collaboration with them. But Aeterna Zentaris is going to be the sponsor and the main responsible party for overseeing the CRO conducting the study.
That actually brings me to my next question. So the pivotal phase 2 trial that will be conducted and the enrollment completion is in the coming years, but are we going to see data until then? If so, when would be the data readout or update from that trial?
This is, if you like, this is a test validation trial. So what we do is we are going to compare Massimolin to two standard, let's say, procedures or tests currently used. And the idea is to see more or less the same kind of diagnosis with both. For example, the cutoff level of GH levels is not yet clear what to be expected. So this is part of the clinical trial, is to assess, you know, what will be a successful cutoff level for growth hormone in order to assess whether pediatric subjects are considered to be growth hormone deficient or not. But in principle, it's a validation test, or let's say a validation trial for a diagnostic test in comparison to two tests that have to be performed in parallel according to current guidelines.
We received multiple questions regarding your NASDAQ compliance, regarding the share price being lower than the requirements. So some of our audience is asking what are the plans and what is the strategy to comply?
So basically we are working to improve the situation, obviously. We are working to replenish our development pipeline, and we are confident that this will provide, you know, sufficient drive to increase our share price going further. It is true we have received 180 days compliance period initially, but we believe that we would qualify also for an extension of that period, so we still have time to meet the goal of reaching compliance above $1. The other, if you like, more fundamental NASDAQ criteria for listing have been reached with our financings, so we have now sufficient shareholder equity, and also our market capitalization is above the threshold for NASDAQ compliance.
Thank you so much for your participation. Much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much also, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.